Now it's a real privilege to introduce our commencement speaker this afternoon. Andrew R. Phelps was born and raised in Everett, and he is a graduate of the class of 2000. He is the son of Roland and Gladys Phelps of Everett, and he is the youngest of 9 brothers and sisters, one of those being one of our favorite employees, Diane Brackett, that I know is here today. Everyone loves Diane, correct? As a child, Andy's career ambitions included being a carpenter. He loved hockey, still a huge fan of the Red Wings, and he really wanted to join the circus. He was a very gifted juggler and a pretty funny guy. But I suppose if you know the Phelps, if you're going to be a part of that family, you better have a good sense of humor, because I think they're all like semi-comedians. In 1998, at the age of 16, Andy was in a tragic accident returning from the Career Center. And he and a couple of his classmates, Eddie Brandon and Justin Peter, they were tragically killed. They were with Josh DeWitt, who managed to walk away, and Andy was left paralyzed from the shoulders down. However, he didn't let that defeat his attitude. His mantra or mentality in life is, you're going to face adversity, and the mark of your character is how you respond to that. And I think you'll see today he's responded very well. Following high school, Andy attended Full Sail University in Florida, earning an associate's degree in film production and honors in post-production. In 2010, he earned his bachelor's in entertainment business with honors in marketing, accounting, statistics, and intellectual property law. He currently resides in Grand Rapids with his dog Tango. He's traveled to Albania for mission work with disabled people. He's the producer of the award-winning short film War Prayer, and probably something that all of us are most familiar with, and I saw Mr. Morgan here today, owner of Morgan Composting, and he is the creator of the Talking Cow. Please welcome Mr. Andy Phelps.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Like Mr. Coleman said, my name is Andy Phelps, and I'm going to be your commencement speaker today. I am very nervous, and sometimes when I get nervous, my knees buckle, and I pass out, so I hope you don't mind if I stay sitting down. I'd like to thank you for inviting me here today. This is perhaps the biggest honor of my life. I was asked if I wanted to come here last year, but my schedule didn't permit. And I'm glad I didn't, because this past year has been the most important of my life. And I've learned a lot that I wouldn't have been able to say last year. It's always nice to come back to the high school. I was in the 3rd class that I graduated from this building. When this school was built in the late 90s, I really wasn't super excited because I wanted to graduate from the old building. I had 4 siblings that graduated from there, as well as my father and my grandmother. So I really wanted to graduate from that school. That is until I saw the shop that was in this class, or in the school. And I don't know if you've seen the shop in the old building, but this shop is like 10 billion times cooler. And I even had the honor of setting up and maintaining some of the machines in the shop. Shop was one thing in school I was good at. I was awful at math and English and what I like to call the boring classes. But I loved working with tools ever since I was a child. I had a bunch of tools set up in a shop in the corner of my dad's pole barn. And I used to spend hours and days and nights building birdhouses and baseball bats and all kinds of other stuff. I would work throughout the night and go back in the house just as it was getting light and I'd sleep all day. And I always had sawdust on my clothes and was feeling dry wood glue in my fingers. My sophomore year in shop, I built a beautiful desk. It was solid oak. They had 2 towers, and each tower had 8 raised panels, and the top was 1 inch thick with a walnut border, and turned out really beautiful, really nice. And I worked about and thought about that desk so much that when I closed my eyes at night, I could still see the tongue and grooved joints and the rounded edges. It was all I thought about. And it made me excited to come to school. And I absolutely loved to build stuff. My junior year, I entered the Career Center Building and Trades program. My schedule was awesome. I spent half the day building trades. And then I'd come back to school and I had 2 hours of shop and 1 hour of English. And sometimes I went to that 1 hour of English. This was back, of course, when the state would let students wait until you were in college to take college material and, maybe focus on more important things during school, like band and art and shop. What I consider the more important classes. Building stuff is all I ever imagined I would do when I grew up. Of course, other than join the circus, which is something I wanted to do. But from a young age, my best friend Greg and I had everything planned out. We were gonna, after we graduated, we were gonna start a construction company. We were gonna build houses. We even had the name of our company picked out. It's gonna be called G&P Construction. And we were gonna coach a hockey team, and we were gonna ride Harley Davidsons, and life was gonna be awesome. And life really was awesome. But then one day, everything changed. Like Mr. Coleman said, 12 years ago, I was a passenger in a car wreck that took place while some friends and I were carelessly driving down a dirt road. 2 of my friends died, and I suffered a spinal cord injury. For months, I was completely immobile. I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I couldn't talk, and I couldn't breathe. The only way I could communicate was by blinking, once for yes, and twice for no. You might find it hard to believe, but life is really different when you can't do the everyday little things like hammer nails, or feed your dog, or scratch your nose, or breathe. And as it turns out, I wasn't meant to be a carpenter or a hockey coach. And I might never ride my Harley Davidson again. That day, everything I loved to do was gone because of one bad choice I made with my friends. And my life went from being absolutely awesome to absolutely awful in just a split second. Staring at death doesn't just change you, it changes the people around you. It brings out the unmasked truth of your family and your friends and your community. And the truth about my friends and my family and my community is that they are all awesome. They never left my side. They never let me give up. And they never made me feel inadequate. Without my family and friends, and everyone who came together to offer their prayers and their support, I know I wouldn't be here today. I might be alive, but I wouldn't be happy. When I returned to school, no one cried. No one treated me like a charity case or an outsider. The support this community gave me a reason to do something with my life. They made me want to contribute to society. It was up to me to figure out how. To say I was scared was a massive understatement. For months I was scared. Even after returning home from the hospital and returning to school, I was still scared of the unknown factors my life would encounter. The days passed and graduation came. And graduation wasn't easy for me. Even though it was supposed to be a celebration of everything I accomplished in the first 18 years of my life. And even though I was supposed to be happy to start the next chapter in my life. And even though I hated sitting through all those boring English classes, at least it was a life I knew, and I didn't want to leave it behind. But I didn't have a choice, because life moves on whether you wanted to or not. As my friends headed off to college and moved out to their parents' houses and started becoming adults, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I thought of becoming a motivational speaker, but I just never got around to it. I didn't want to go to college, so I just stayed home and played video games. And I was incredibly bored. And the video games gave me an escape. They gave me something that I could do by myself. And I wasn't really good at them. But they became consuming. And they became my master. And I was never fulfilled by becoming a Grandmaster Warrior or by slaying dragons. But fortunately, one day my friend Dan told me about a home computer that was powerful enough to make a movie on. It was called a Macintosh G4, and it was available for only a couple $1,000s. So I called my grandma, and just as she always is, she was happy to help me out and bought me a new Mac and one of those newfangled digital video cameras. My brother and I wrote a script, and we got a bunch of friends together, and we shot an awful short film called My Brother Donnie that was about two brothers who were eluding a loan shark who was notorious for castrating people who didn't pay him back. After we shot it, I spent hours and days and nights editing on my new Mac, and I loved it. I became quite good at it. It was something I could do by myself, and I became obsessed. And once again, I had a reason to stay up all night and work. Again, I loved to do something so much that when I went to bed and closed my eyes, all I could see was the art I was creating. I realized the way I was going to contribute to society was through my new passion. I took an 8-week course at Compass Film Academy in Grand Rapids to find out how realistic it would be for me to approach a career in filmmaking. And 2 years later, I graduated from Commencement University in Florida with a degree in film production. Since then, I have actively been working and teaching in filmmaking in Grand Rapids. Oddly enough, my best friend Greg also wound up in Grand Rapids. And although we never started our business, GFP Construction, Greg still works in construction for a living. He is married and has a 2-month-old, and he rides a Harley Davidson. And even though he's yet to coach a hockey team, he's been refereeing for over 10 years. Because he's worked hard and done his best to make good decisions, his life is going almost exactly as he planned. Mine isn't. But ironically, we are both happy. And that's how life will be for some of you. You will work hard, and things will turn out exactly as you planned. Some of you will work hard, and things will turn out the opposite of what you planned. But for those of you who don't have a plan, who are right now in the same position I was 11 years ago, scared because you don't know what you're going to do with your life, I suggest you do the same thing I did. Find what it is that you are truly passionate about. Don't settle for anything less. If you love to work on cars, become a mechanic. If you love to chop wood, become a lumberjack. If you love to sit around and play video games all day, become a video game developer. If you like to make people angry, become a lawyer or a politician. There's really no wrong answer except being lazy. You can't be happy by being lazy. And if you can fulfill your passion in Everett, then that's great. But if Everett doesn't offer what you need to be happy, then work hard until you find where you're supposed to be. Whether it's America, or in Europe, around the moon, wherever. Being productive brings me joy. However, last year I developed a pressure sore that prevented me from sitting in my wheelchair and rendered me completely unproductive. I spent 194 consecutive days in bed. I couldn't edit, and I couldn't teach, I couldn't play video games. I wanted so bad just to leave, to move someplace like Hawaii, and to start life over as a normal, able-bodied person. But one of the downsides of being paralyzed is that it's a full-time job. It's not a typical job where I can just up and quit on a whim. It's not like an unhealthy marriage where I can just escape to work for hours, where I can just escape and go to work for hours a day. I can't take a vacation from being paralyzed. So I had no other choice but to just stick it out. And as the months passed, I went stir crazy. I reached a point where I couldn't even stand watching TV or movies or listening to music. Although I had a healthcare worker present, I felt completely alone. But I was too miserable to have anyone else around me. At my worst, I spent the night staring at the ceiling, bouncing my head off the pillow, and singing Jesus Loves Me just to entertain myself. I was on the edge of going insane, and I might have even crossed that edge a few times. All I could do was think, and oftentimes my thoughts consisted of what I would tell you today. And this is what I came up with. The most important thing that you own is your body. It is my hope and prayer that every one of you realizes how important your body is. Your body is not like a car or a computer. You can't trade it in for a new one or just upgrade it if something goes wrong. You only get one. And I know it's your body and you can do whatever you want with it, but your life isn't just about you. Don't be selfish. Even at a young age, your life and your body affects hundreds, if not thousands of people. Your life affects people in this world that love you. So please don't abuse your body with alcohol or tobacco or drugs or overeating. I'm not saying you shouldn't have fun and find out what pleasures life holds. Just be careful. Give your body the respect it needs and deserves, physically, mentally, sexually, and emotionally. You only get one body. Ultimately, what you do is your choice. You won't always make the right choice, but that's okay. My friend calls bad choices wisdom training, and that has always made me feel quite wise. Living a happy life doesn't just rely on what good choices you make, but how you manage the bad choices you make. No matter how careful you are, sooner or later, you will do something stupid. For some, it might be something minor, like buying a car that they can't afford. For some, it might be something a little more serious, like hurting someone they love. When, not if, when you make a bad decision, it is my hope that you live up to it and learn from it. When something bad happens and it's your fault, and it doesn't seem like anything can get any worse, I hope you realize that someone, somewhere in this world, is going through something much worse than you are. I tried to take comfort in that during the 194 days I laid in bed staring at the ceiling. I knew other people in this world must have been going through struggles worse than mine. But as the weeks went by, I couldn't help but dwell on my past. Every day I thought about how better life was before I became paralyzed. I thought about playing hockey and riding my motorcycle and wrestling with my dogs. All the things I thought I'd put behind me. All that dwelling brought up one thing in my mind that I just couldn't get past. One thing I couldn't wrap my head around. Why did this happen to me? It's really not fair. I mean, I'm such a nice guy. I mean, sure, I can be a bit of a bonehead at times, but did I really do anything to deserve this? Why did my life turn out like this? Everything in high school was going so well. Why did I have to go and screw it all up? Why did I hurt my loved ones so bad? Why did we decide to be so irresponsible? And as the days slowly passed, I wondered, why couldn't I have just died? After months of lying in bed, searching for that answer, I came to the conclusion that the why cannot be answered. Why cannot be answered? Because why doesn't matter. Asking why only brought on things like guilt and depression. And the guilt for my bad choices brought nothing but pain. But I believe God provided the 194 days of bed rest so I could finally face that guilt and overcome it. And I could share that story with you today. With the help of my friend, I was able to admit my bad choices. I was able to admit my regrets and forgive myself for the pain that I had caused myself and my loved ones. I became able to accept the bad choices I had made, and I haven't dwelled on my past since then. Acceptance isn't giving up. It isn't just forgetting about something you did or forgetting something about someone you lost. It's realizing that there's more to life than pain, and finding what that more is. I've seen people afraid to accept the bad things that they've done all of their life, who live a life of pain and guilt. They've let the bad things in their lives keep them from seeing how beautiful life really is. I've seen people so wrapped up in their own problems that there is no room for happiness or grace. It is my hope and prayer for all of you that when bad things happen in your life, you take the appropriate time to mourn and accept that no matter how bad things might be, life is still beautiful. But I was still stuck in bed. And surely the suffering I was feeling from laying in bed wasn't going to kill me. But death is all I had left to think about. I considered all of the important things I still wanted to do before I died. I even made a list. Things like seeing the Grand Canyon or meeting Steve Jobs didn't make the list. Building a house or riding my motorcycle or even walking again didn't make the list. Those things aren't that important to me anymore. Instead, I wrote down things like apologizing to my parents for going out drinking in high school and lying about it. Apologizing to an old classmate for setting his hat on fire. The majority of the things on the list included making amends with people from my past that I had wronged, and I worked through them one by one. The last two things on my list are write a book and write a screenplay, both of which I'm working diligently on. They would probably both be done right now if I would have paid attention during those boring English classes in high school. On December 29th, I was given a clean bill of health, and I could gradually start getting back in my chair, starting at 20 minutes a day. The first day, I took a much-needed shower. The second day, I sat on my porch for the first time in 7 months. And as I watched the big snowflakes fall and watched my dogs run in circle, for a brief moment, I had forgotten about the months of pain that I had just went through. And I realized I wasn't at the end of something. I was at the beginning. It was another shot at life. And because I had taken the time to make amends with my family and the people from my past, and because I had been forgiven by them, and most importantly, because I had forgiven myself, this new beginning started with a clean slate. It was filled with peace, grace, patience, and understanding. And I hope your new beginning is exactly the same. Thank you.